We thought he was a little crazy, but we said, yeah, go for it. Give it a try. So why don't you all please help me in welcoming Ravi to stage, who's going to show us what his crazy idea is. Ravi? Hey, how are you?
Hi, Steve. Sorry, I can't do a backflip either, but let me show you what I can do and actually have done. Right. So I'm in the performance group at VMware, as you know, and I wanted to learn from social media to figure out how to make managing and monitoring your virtual infrastructure as easy as it is to monitor your friends on Facebook. So here I've got my virtual infrastructure, and I've got my social network powered by Socialcast. What I do first is I go ahead and add my virtual entities to my social network. And these are going to act as users, posting status updates, etc., as you would do in a social network. So if we can just cue the demo here to start adding entities. Thank you. So as you can see, all of my VMs and hosts are getting added to my social network, and they're going to go ahead and post status, etc. But they're not just getting added as entities. What I'm also doing is I'm discovering the connections between them, the connections between hosts, between virtual machines, between data centers, etc. And just like as in a social network, we can use those connections in interesting ways. Now let me give you an example of what I mean by that. Here we're going to highlight a host in our virtual infrastructure, and this host is running virtual machines. Well, in our social network, what would that map to? I'll show you the very same host, and first of all, you can see that in our social network, the users aren't just human beings, but also hosts and VMs. Let's go ahead and click on the very same host that was managing those two VMs, and we can see that its friends are those virtual machines. Now, this is not just a whimsical thing. We can actually use this, and let me set this up with a little bit of an example. When Michael Phelps won his 20th gold medal at the recent Olympics, he received a number of congratulatory messages and about 176,000 likes. Now, likes are a great way to consolidate and aggregate information. And we're going to go ahead and use that concept here. So what you see is that I've got a virtual machine that I've set up as an NFS data store right here. Okay, and I've connected a number of my hosts to this VM as an NFS data store. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and turn off that VM and therefore turn off that data store.
That seems bad.
That is very bad, but look at how easy it's going to be to figure out what's going on. As you can see, once we've turned this off, a number of hosts that are connected to that data store will be affected by the problem. The first host that gets affected will go ahead and post an update that says, hey, this data store just went down. Now, rather than getting barraged with a bunch of the same message from all of our other hosts, every other host will like the very same message. At a glance, you see exactly how many hosts are affected by this problem. But there's more. Channeling Steve Jobs here. Anyway, as you can see, we see the number of hosts that are affected, but when we click further, we can also see exactly which hosts are affected. So an IT admin can look at this and figure out which hosts might need some looking at. Now, we can take this social media metaphor a little bit further. So one thing I want to point out is that this is actually deployed in the hands-on lab over in the other building. And so I'm using this to monitor our hands-on lab and figure out what's going on. When you say something interesting in the keynote about some product, often there's a spike of activity of people going to the hands-on lab to perhaps use that product. And the virtual centers that are backing the hands-on lab see a burst of activity. As a performance engineer, I need to understand what that activity is. Now, you might have noticed when we showed all of the hosts liking the same issue that I had a hashtag, warning NFS. And as we know, in social media, the number of responders to a hashtag gives some indication of the popularity of that topic. Right. We can use that concept of popularity here. What I'm doing is we've started a load against the virtual infrastructure. So we've started a number of clones, a number of deploys, etc. For every task that I use, I associate it with a hashtag. So it's as if it's a topic. And so when the same task is executed multiple times, the same hashtag is seen, and you see an indication of the popularity of that task. We can use this information by looking at some of the analytics that we see within Socialcast. We go ahead and click on the tab that tells us, this shows us a graph of time and the number of messages that you see. And as you can see, once we started that load, there was a huge burst of activity. So at a glance, virtualization admin can see that his or her vCenter server is very busy. Now, as a performance engineer, I need to know the composition of that workload, clones, deploys, et cetera, so I can know which operations I need to optimize. And remember that each task that is being performed is a topic. The popularity of topic, the number of tasks being performed of that particular type. So let's go ahead and look at the popularity of those tasks by looking at the trends. Here I can see exactly which tasks are being performed. Now I know to go back and try to figure out how to make those tasks faster.
Got it, got it.
Now we're only skimming the surface of this, obviously. If you want to learn more, please come to the Innovation Spotlight session later today, and I'll talk more about this.
All right, thanks, Ravi.
Thank you very much, Steve. Appreciate it.
I really like that. The metaphor keeps going on. And in addition to helping you manage your infrastructure, you can pretend you have even more friends than you do. So very good, good combination.